Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and I've been hearing this talk, this notion that collectors a lot of times that have large collections don't play their video games, and there's truth to that, and there's some non-truth to that. The truth of the matter is that does a person with a collection of 500 games play all 500 games every year? No. I mean, that's asinine. There's not enough time in the world for someone with that large of a collection to play all of the games that they have in their collection all the time. So I guess if depending, it depends on what your expectations are. If you consider a shelf collector a person who isn't playing, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of their collection each year, then I guess there's a lot of people who are shelf collectors, right? I think it just depends on what you classify or what you would qualify as quote unquote playing their games, right? Again, if you have a large collection, even if you have a collection of 100 games, let's just say you have a collection of 100 games, right? And let's say you have maybe, I don't know, let's just average it out by a day, right? Let's say you have an hour a day, each day, on average, to dedicate to playing your video games, right? That means you would only have 365 hours a year, 365 hours a year, right? To play your video games. Now, that might be enough time to get through maybe, I don't know, a handful of RPGs, maybe play a few puzzle games, maybe do a little bit of online play. But 365 hours in a year is not going to cut it when you have a large collection. So, what I think collectors with large collections do is they kind of go through and they may pick a handful of games each year that they want to dedicate some time to. Now, that also depends on the types of games they're playing, right? There are some games that you can play and beat in a half hour, some games you can play and beat in an hour, 45 minutes. There are some games that takes days and weeks to play through, right? Because they're longer RPGs, they require a lot more grinding. They're just more time consuming. But to say that someone that doesn't play their games isn't a real gamer just is a very misleading statement, in my opinion, because there's no qualifiers for something like that. How do you quantify how much time a person should be spending playing their video games to be considered a real gamer, or how much or how many games out of their collection each year do they need to play to be considered a real gamer? And so I think the whole notion in and of itself is actually really stupid. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people who just buy games and don't play any video games, right? And even if you're a person who does that, even if you're a person who you never play any of your video games, you just literally buy them and put them on the shelf, I still don't see anything wrong with that, right? Especially if you know consciously that you're just a video game collector. If you're a person who only collects video games and never plays them, then you can't really honestly go around speaking as though you're a gamer, because you know nothing about the games you're collecting. You've never played them. You don't know how fun they are. You're just collecting them for collecting's sake. And for whatever that collecting sake might be, whether it be money, maybe you think there's money in collecting video games. Maybe you have OCD and you just want to collect video games. Maybe these are games that you never got as a child and you just want to have them in your physical possession so you can kind of satiate some type of childhood trauma or longing, whatever the case may be. If you're that type of person who's not playing video games at all, but just collecting them, again, I think there's nothing wrong with that at all, as long as you're owning what you're doing. And I think that's what it really boils down to, especially here on YouTube, when it comes to the gaming community and who people feel are actual gamers versus who people feel are fake gamers or shelf collectors. I think you have a lot of people out there who try to measure collectors versus gamers based on the perceived knowledge that they have about the games in their collection. And again, that's just something that's very difficult to do, I think, especially from a distance. If you're not around someone on a daily or even weekly basis to see what they're actually doing throughout their day and, determine if they're actually playing their video games, then how can you really say what they are, in terms of gameplay or them playing their games? And so I think the whole notion is it's just pretty funny at this point. I think, do you, that's what I say. I say, do you. If you're someone who just likes to collect video games, then collect them. Screw what anyone else has to say. If you're someone who is more of a gamer and you just want to play the games, then forget collecting the physical stuff. Just emulate everything, and then you can talk about all the games that you play on Steam or whatever the case may be. And you have people who do that too. But I think there's just this, people. I think the gaming community, a lot of times people are looking for validation. They're looking for validation, or they're looking to discredit people, when it comes to this space. Like if a person has a number of physical video games, especially retro games, if they've got a number of physical video games that another person might not have, I tend to see like this tongue-in-cheek hate going on, like this little hateration. People making videos about people who don't play their games or people who do play their games, or, you can never quite satisfy people who are just looking for reasons to discredit you. And I just thought that this was a really funny notion, because to this day, no one has been able to quantify or tell me how much time, like what's the time requirement for gaming? Like how many hours of gaming do you need to engage in to be considered a gamer? How many hours do you need to log? How many games do you need to play? How many games do you need to complete or beat for you to be considered a gamer or someone who actually plays their games? I think the whole thing is nonsense. Listen, if I pick one game out of my collection and play that one game out of 1,000 games for the entire year, no one's telling me that I'm not a gamer. I chose to pick one game and play that one game, and if all the other 999 games sit on the shelf and collect dust, that's what they're gonna do, because maybe I'm just locked in to playing, I don't know, Beautiful Joe 2. Maybe I want to beat it over and over and over again. Pause. Right? Maybe I want to do something like that. Right? Not everyone wants to try and go through their entire library in a single year. A lot of people, especially adults, don't have that kind of time. And the majority of people who have these larger collection of retro games, majority of them are adults who are older, have responsibilities, work a 9 to 5. They probably have families, and they just don't have a disposable 30 hours to sink into a game in a 48-hour time frame, right? Like we don't have the ability to just sit down and play Pokemon Gold for 12 hours in a day. I would love to have that. Like God knows I would love to have that, but just I'm not at that stage in life. So let me know what you guys think, please. If you guys know what these minimum requirements are to be considered a gamer, let me know down in the comments. How many hours do you need to log? How many games do you need to play? How much knowledge do you need to have? What is it? What's the requirements to meet this criteria? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.